One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is August 31st, 2012, and tonight I have a jam-packed show for you, and I'm going to get right down to the brass tacks. Last week, well, starting last weekend into the beginning of this week, was the RNC down here in Tampa, or in Tampa, I should say, down here in Florida. And as you all know, which we all said, it was going to be a big screw fest for the Paul campaign, basically. And Ron Paul didn't, obviously he didn't get the nomination. There was a lot of pissed off delegates. Things were going on. What you saw on the mainstream media was some fluff coverage of it. But what was going on behind the scenes, and I'm not referring to the Paul campaign getting screwed here, I'm referring to something else. What was going on behind the scenes was quite different. And what a lot of people don't know is that there were a lot of, I guess for lack of a better term, patriots, just good people out there trying to get the truth out, who put together a huge event called Paul Fest. And it was, for lack of a better term, sabotaged, basically, by Jesse Benton and others in the Ron Paul campaign because of, I guess, what they called a fringe element inside the campaign. And, I mean, I have a problem with that because the fringe element that they speak of are actually the ones responsible for getting Dr. Paul the limelight that he really has and introducing him into the mainstream as much as he is now. If it weren't for that quote-unquote fringe element busting their butts for so long, I don't think he'd be as popular as he is. So I think to cut them off when it's convenient to suck up to the GOP is utterly disgusting. And Monday, I did a special broadcast where I recorded it off air and then I edited everything and I threw it up on YouTube, an interview with one of the organizers of Paul Fest, Tracy Diaz, who will be joining me later in the broadcast tonight. And I was going to air the interview I did with her on Monday, but she was at the last minute. I was able to get her on live. She was gracious enough to take some time out of her night tonight and actually come on live. So I'd rather actually let you listen to her live. If you want to listen to the interview I did with her, it's up on the archive page already. It's on YouTube. Just go to federaljack.com, go to the archive section. It's up there. Anyway, I also have the pleasure tonight of being joined by one of the ragamuffins, one of the king ragamuffins, I would say, one of the biggest ragamuffins, I guess, in the fringe element that they say exists here. Mr. Danny Panzella, and he was on ground, boots on the ground at P.A.U.L Fest, and he's going to tell us what he saw, what he experienced, and what he knows. And then Tracy's going to come on and join us a little bit into the second, or the first hour rather, after the first break. So, Danny, let's get right into it. P.A.U.L Fest. It was put together by there was a bunch of different organizers. I mean, so many that we'd have to, we could probably spend 5 or 10 minutes naming everybody that took part in it. And yet, you guys, after all this hard work, got screwed by the P.A.U.L campaign. I guess that's, for lack of a better term, you guys got screwed over hardcore. So let's go into the background a little bit of what happened, and then, what did you witness yourself while you were there?
Well, first of all, Papa, I want to say thank you for having me on. It's always fun to be with you, my fellow ragamuffin. And I think we have to go back. First, for your listeners, I want to define what exactly a ragamuffin is, because it's kind of an inside joke, and I don't think a lot of people really understand what it means. So basically, it goes back to the beginning of the 2012 campaign. And the 2012 campaign has this, Ron Paul Inc., as we refer to it, had this philosophy that they wanted to become mainstream Republicans. They wanted to dress like Republicans, act like Republicans, talk like Republicans, so that it made Ron Paul's message seem less radical, and it would be more accepted among Republicans. So I'm here in New York City, and we have, the Ron Paul Inc. operatives in New York City, and they were trying to court the Upper West Side, Manhattan GOP. So, these are very wealthy Republicans in New York City. And, so there was kind of this rule: if you're coming to a Ron Paul event, you got to wear khakis and a blue blazer, you've got to look the part. And that's where the ragamuffin term came from, because we've got a huge, anarchists and truthers, and there's these factions of the Ron Paul movement, and this is everywhere. But this is where the term ragamuffins originated, was actually with the New York City section of the campaign. So they would refer to us, the truther anarchists, the kind of the ones that don't look like Republicans, as ragamuffins. So that's where it first came out. And then, this contingent, or whatever you want to call it, these Ron Paul operatives would try to keep us out of events, would try to, in the end, sabotage events. We threw Liberty Fest. Gigi and I and Ian Coffey from New York City threw Liberty Fest last year. We had 30-plus speakers, awesome people in the Liberty movement, all the names that you know. But because myself, Gary Franchi, Adam Kokesh, and others, Richard Gage also spoke at it, were our truthers. We are ragamuffins. It makes us toxic to the campaign's reputation. So therefore, Jack Hunter, Mike Moresco, and some other Ron Paul Inc. quote-unquote employees backed out of the speaking at the event, which is fine. You're a free voluntary association. If you don't want to speak at our event because you're officially connected to the campaign and you feel like it embarrasses them, I mean, it's a violation of libertarian principle, I feel. But it's your choice, no problem. You want to back out. But then they proceeded to call other speakers and try to convince them this is a truther event. This is what they were telling people. This is a truther event, and you don't want to speak at this event. It's going to hurt your reputation.
And how long before P.A.U.L Fest kicked off did they start doing this?
This is not P.A.U.L Fest. This is Liberty Fest last year in New York City.
Oh, okay. This was okay. So this was Liberty Fest.
This is how far back. This is how far back this campaign against the ragamuffins started with Liberty Fest.
This isn't anything new then. See, I didn't even realize.
No. This is not new. What's happened is that now they've just become more obvious about it. And you know what? I have to thank Peter Schiff. And I know he didn't do this on purpose. He didn't mean to expose this. And I think he's embarrassed that he exposed this. But I have to thank Peter Schiff for exposing the Jesse Benton and the Ron Paul Inc.'s anti-ragamuffin, anti-grassroots sentiment, because a lot of people didn't believe it. They thought, oh, you're just conspiracy theorists. And a lot of the Ron Paul supporters don't understand how underhanded Ron Paul Inc. really is. And then they want to blame it on Jesse Benton and say, oh, well, it's not Ron Paul. Well, you know what? If Ron Paul can't control his own campaign, then how can we expect him to be able to be president?
Exactly. I've said the same thing, Dan. Times. How is this guy presidential material if he can't even control these people during his campaign?
Right. So that just shows that Ron Paul approves of these, of these tactics. It's a shame. But I guess what do we expect? Ron Paul's a politician. And, I've kind of been speaking that message, just saying, listen, you don't be surprised when Ron Paul is doing status things or compromising his principles because he's a politician. And yes, he may be the lesser of he may be the least of the evils, but he still is a statist in the end. So that's a little bit of background. So now fast forward to Fall Fest. Here we have and Tracy can probably speak to this a little bit better than I can, but from what I understand it, here we have a grassroots event with amazing speakers, and it's a paid event. It's a weekend festival, paid event, and Ron Paul in the beginning is going to speak, agrees to speak at it. He backs out, and then ends up planning his own event, paid for by donation money, so it's free. So now here you have a choice. You can go see Ron Paul speak along with all of our speakers. All of our speakers were actually, Tom Woods, not Tom Woods, Lou Rockwell and Walter Block, and a bunch of the speakers that spoke at our event also spoke at Ron Paul's event. So now you can see Ron Paul, a lot of the same speakers you could see for free at the Sun Dome, or you could pay to go to our festival. Now, of course, the hardcore ragamuffins, the people that know and love the activists that were coming to speak at our event, of course, still came. But it's hard to compete with Ron Paul. They had Ron Paul. We did it. So that's why he really handicapped our campaign, our event. It was really unfair, and there really was no reason for it. And then I'm glad in the end Jesse Benton got exposed, and Ron Paul Inc. got exposed, and their attitude of contempt for the grassroots, which is not really evident to most Ron Paul supporters. It's really the hardcore people that work closely with the campaign that know about this because they're exposed to it. And then at the same time, you feel like you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to expose it because, one, you don't want to hurt Ron Paul's chances. When we were still believing Ron Paul did have a chance, you don't want to hurt that. So you keep your mouth shut. Then it gets to the point where you realize that Ron Paul doesn't have any chance, and you start to talk about it. And then the Ron Paul people, supporters that are not close to the campaign, don't see the baloney that the campaign is pulling, are just telling you, oh, you're an idiot, you're a conspiracy theorist, blah, blah, whatever it is. And so then you don't want to talk about it for that reason. Well, I'm glad now it's finally been exposed, and the truth can come out. And it's okay. It's okay. Ron Paul has done amazing things for liberty over the last 30 years. It does not take away from that. All it does is take him off that pedestal. He is not perfect. He is not a demigod of liberty. There's no such thing as a demigod of liberty. Me, myself, Adam Kokesh, any of these people that are quote-unquote leaders in the liberty movement, we're only considered leaders because we take action. We're not leaders. There are no leaders. Philosophy is our leader. And you have to stop putting people like us or anyone on a pedestal because we will always let you down. We are human.
Exactly.
We have egos. We do stupid things. We will always let you down. Philosophy is your leader. Follow the philosophy.
You are all on your own path just like everybody else is. So you're going to make mistakes because you have to learn from them. That's part of your own learning experience. And I say this all the time. People need to stop deifying people. I mean, even if Ron Paul got the nomination, right, and he beat Obama, right, and there was actually a real fair election that wasn't rigged, and he actually won, he gets over all these hurdles, right? It's not like he's going to land on the lawn in January, on the White House lawn with a cape and a leotard on, and as soon as his feet hit the ground, poof, the war's stopped, the troops are all home, the Federal Reserve is gone. No, that doesn't work like that. It would still be up to us to solve these problems. So instead of looking to this guy or anybody, we should look to ourselves. That's where the solutions are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's why I'm really glad. And, honestly, I'm glad the Ron Paul campaign is over. There's whispers on the internet he's going to make an announcement on Tuesday, and people are hoping he's going to run third party. I don't see him running third party. He has invested so much in the future for Rand Paul with building the Republican Party that I really don't think he's going to run third party. I think it would be great if he does for educational purposes, but I just don't. And I think that would be good because I feel like that would be a more principled stance. I'm disappointed in the Ron Paul campaign for not taking more principled stance, not fighting for the nomination until the very end. Giving up and trading political capital to get things put into the platform that we know the GOP is not going to respect. I mean, them changing the rules and really just removing any sense of, or any democracy that was there is now gone from the GOP. No one in the GOP has a voice.
And now they changed the rules. They changed the rules, right?
It's just the quote-unquote Illuminati of the GOP now that make the decisions, and no grassroots Republican will ever have a voice again in the RNC.
Well, and actually, they actually did us a favor then. That does everybody a favor, because now this proves, like, if people who are about, liberty and freedom and they're pissed off about the status quo, if this doesn't wake them up that this whole thing is rigged and fake to begin with, I've said this from the door. When people go, why wouldn't they want Ron Paul to get in? Because they need Romney and Ryan. It's just like McCain and Sarah Palin. Old, young, gonna be lost to Obama, so he gets another 4 years in. And if Romney does get in by some chance he gets in, he's backed by the same people, so it's not change.
That's right.
It's just taking off one mask and putting on another, and all that does is make all the conservatives complacent, just like it did when Obama got in and the anti-war left all of a sudden disappeared. Remember that? Remember when they used to be out there with us on the streets, Danny, and then all of a sudden after Obama got in, it was like, hey, where'd you all go?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's my biggest fear about Romney being elected, is that the Tea Party will go to sleep. And not that the Tea Party isn't largely asleep as it is, but at least there's some kind of criticism of the president. If Romney gets elected, that's it. They're going to be happy that Republicans in, and it's going to be done. And, maybe Occupy will rise up again and be that voice of dissent, hopefully. I don't know. But, either way, like you said, I just saw a video today. I'm trying to find it so I can post it on your wall so your listeners can go check it out. Actually, I'm going to post two videos. One of them is basically about the revolution and about not making Ron Paul your hero. And the other one is about Barack Obama and Romney both being Goldman Sachs stooges. And it reveals a lot of really great information. I'm going to post this up on your Facebook page right now so that your listeners can go check those two videos out after the show, of course.
Did you see anybody, like, when you were there yourself, did you see any Romney bots? Like, did you run into anybody or try to at least have some sort of political discourse with anybody there about, like, the reality of the situation?
No, because I didn't... you know what? I'll put it in the chat room. I didn't go to the RNC itself. I only went to the Ron Paul rally and the Paul, the Sundome and the Paul Fest.
And I'm sure there was no Romney supporters anywhere around the event.
No. So I was around Paul bots all weekend, which Paul bots can be pretty irritating at times too.
Oh yeah, they can. I get in fights with them a lot. They get mad when I say that he's not a savior. They're, what are you for Romney or what are you for Obama? You secretly get paid to work for them? Yeah, I'm COINTELPRO. I get paid to, go out and shill for whatever I'm shilling for that week, right? Idiots. It gets frustrating, and I know what you mean, because as soon as a lot of times if you're in a Ron Paul event, I remember back in the day when we were first trying to wake people up even to Ron Paul, and if you mentioned, if you were out there giving out DVDs, at one point it had to be Aaron Russo's Freedom to Fascism, because if you gave out anything else that even mentioned 9/11 in it, you couldn't even get people to take you seriously about the Federal Reserve. Yeah, and now I find that once they open up about the Federal Reserve, it usually leads them down the path of, well, false flag terrorism, perpetual war, blah, 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 blah. But there's still this element that you mentioned 9/11 or anything else, anything with the C word in front of it, Danny, conspiracy. It's like, oh, you can't say that. Nobody will take us seriously. Shut him up.
Yep.
And it's
exactly.
What kind of freedom movement is that? Really?
That's right. Exactly. And that's what being a ragamuffin is. It's standing for the truth no matter what, what that might do to your reputation. It's not caring about that. It's just exposing the truth no matter what.
I like the term ragamuffins. I didn't know you guys were actually having this many problems last year. I didn't know that the problems went back that far. I mean, that's just... It goes to show you that they have this contempt for the grassroots level. Like, it's almost like, they forget where they come from. And at the same time, who really is, like, Jesse Benton and all these other people on the inside? Do we really know anything about them? Do we really know whether or not they truly actually care about the grassroots? Or are some of them just trying to make a name for themselves? Are some of them just trying to make money? What happened to all that money that they raised with the Ron Paul money bombs? I wonder where that went.
Well, they have about $2.5 million left in their account, in their coffers. So
we should call them out. Let's challenge them.
Yeah. Kokesh put out a video today telling people they can call. According to FEC rules, you can call the campaign and request your donations back. I never actually donated to Ron Paul Inc. I donated to RevPAC because I knew I could trust Gary Franchi to spend the money and his board to spend the money responsibly for liberty, and that it wouldn't go to putting money in Jesse Benton's pockets or whatever. So I knew that it would be spent, to go directly to liberty. So I always donated directly to RevPAC.
I say we call them out. In fact, I'm gonna cut us off because we got a break coming up, Danny. But I'm gonna call out the campaign right now on air. You should take that money and give it to homeless veterans or organizations that'll actually feed and clothe and get these homeless veterans off the streets. If you guys care so much about the troops, you want to bring them home, all that rhetoric you got to get veterans to vote for you and donate money, then you better take care of the homeless vets on the streets right now. I call you all out. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And here at the half-hour mark, as promised, we are joined by one of the ringleaders of the Ragamuffins, other than Danny. And Danny's, let me tell you something, Danny's high up there. Ooh. We're joined by none other than Tracy Diaz herself, the lady responsible for the open letter to Jesse Benton and responsible for a very awesome interview, which if you haven't heard it from Monday night, which was, let me look on my calendar so I can remember, the 27th. Go back and look in the archive section for August 27th. And you'll see we were talking about Paul Fest. We're going to bring it all up live here anyway, but I want you to go back and listen to her that night because she was so emotionally charged. So I'm going to bring them both back up. Danny and Tracy, welcome back. So
always good to have my girl Tracy. Yep.
Yeah. Well, now I'm scared because I've got the two of you in the house. So I'm scared you guys are going to burn the place down. So,
Ragamuffins unite.
Oh yeah.
So Tracy, you were on the ground. You were boots on the ground at Paul Fest, and you were one of the organizers there. You actually saw a lot of interesting stuff. Let's start with what happened from what you know, how you guys got sabotaged. Danny and I covered it a bit in the first half hour, but since you were an insider, an organizer, you know a lot more. So go ahead and give the listeners an idea of, first take a couple minutes to go over the effort you guys put into it, and then what happened.
Well, I'd been involved with Paul Festival for about 5 months or so, and it's sweat and tears that go into an event this size and this breadth, and we from the very beginning had tried to work with the campaign. At first, they weren't doing an event, then they were just doing a speech, and then they were doing an after party, and we had still, even through all of that, tried to work with them and. We tried to get them to have the events that they were doing at the fairgrounds and just make it their event. We'd give them the fairgrounds for Sunday. That wasn't good. I mean, we went to all lengths to try and get the official campaign to work with us, and they just, for some reason, I mean, even personal conversations with Ron Paul, none of which I had, but our board had, he just wouldn't commit to anything. He released one little statement through his spokesperson, Deb Robinette, and said, guys, Paul Festival is going to be amazing, blah, 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 but it was nothing. It was really nothing. It wasn't anything that we needed, and just as things went on, we started to realize that there was an ulterior motive, and it just sucked, in plain English. It was horrible. But we persevered. We took the high road. We didn't hold any grudges, and, we internally held grudges, but we didn't outwardly hold grudges. And then Sunday happened, and unwittingly, Peter Schiff read a text message to our organizers while being filmed that pretty much cleared up the whole thing for us from Jesse Benton. And it's been all over the place now. And I think it just exemplifies exactly how the official campaign that have sacrificed and compromised and been bought by the Republican Party think about the true grassroots and us ragamuffins. And it was almost like poetic justice.
And that's the video that's out in the net where Schiff is looking at a text message. He's talking to one of the organizers, and he was saying something about, I got this from Jesse Benton. And the video makes it look like Schiff was actually, coming out and, I guess, blowing the whistle or whatever. But it was, I guess he came out the following day, and he was none too happy that the video was on the internet. But there was a video put out by Gary Franchi and a few others that morning explaining the full context of it. Evidently, there was someone there waiting to get Schiff's signature, and he started recording, I guess, when he saw this going down or whatever. And that's the piece that he caught, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go out there saying this, but it's not necessarily something. We don't want to trash anyone's reputation, in quotes. I really don't give a shit, to be quite honest. But he had asked the organizer, and this is from what I've heard of the situation because I wasn't standing there, but he had asked the organizer to give him more money to pay for his limousine. And the organizer came back and said, guys, I'm sorry, we don't have any more money. And Peter Schiff pretty much said, yeah, well, I shouldn't even be here. And then said, let me show you the text message I got from Jesse Benton. And they were nice enough to censor that text message of the preceding conversation. But it really wasn't Peter Schiff being nice to us. It was him saying, F you, I shouldn't have even come here in the first place. I want more money. So this billionaire wants more money from grassroots organizers trying to put on a festival. And then he, in his speech within the festival, says that everyone should vote for Mitt Romney. I think we know where our colors lie. I just, it's horrible. It's just like I laugh.
He actually, I didn't get a chance to hear any of the speeches or anything. So he actually endorsed. He went inside. Was it Paul Fest or the Ron Paul thing that he went in and spoke at and said, vote for Mitt Romney?
It was Paul Festival, and actually Luke Rudkowski got an interview with him the last night of the convention and confronted him about it, and he explained why he thought that it would be good to vote for Mitt Romney, and Sheriff Mack did the same thing. So we're witnessing like people kind of compromising and selling out all around our movement right now.
Wow, I didn't even. You just dropped a bomb on me. I didn't know that. I don't think people should compromise because Romney. Anybody that I had this argument with someone in my family the other night. They told me they're going to vote for Romney because he's the lesser of two evils. They said, well, how has voting for evil worked out so far? Because, look where we're at. You really think that he's any different? I said, go look at who supports him. The same people that support Obama. It's a joke. It's two puppets on the same person, one hand up one puppet's butt, the other hand up the other puppet's butt. And they're sitting there making them talk back and forth. And it's just utterly ridiculous for people to keep falling for this over and over again. And Danny, you were saying that your worst fear is that it just like we talked about, you're gonna get these people, the conservatives, that get lulled back to sleep because they're, all of a sudden Romney, he's back in, it's okay, he's a conservative. Yet 4 years ago when McCain and them were all running, how many conservatives were bashing Romney for not being a conservative? It's like people just don't pay attention. They don't even listen to the past.
All you need to do is look at that one video on YouTube that pretty much sums the whole damn thing up. RNC Sham 2012 is what you need to YouTube if you want to see it. It's just a blatant disrespect for everything our country stands for, and I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised a little bit that they did it so openly and so blatantly. I thought there'd be more transparency and more accountability because of the alternative media that was in attendance. Didn't matter to them. They didn't care. They just gave us a collective middle finger and said, goodbye, guys. See you later. So that's where I'm at right now, is that, the party system is just not going to work. Danny, I'm sure you agree with me, right?
I got to reconnect him. I'm working on it right now because you guys are on cell phones. He got disconnected. So I'm working on it. Don't worry. Anyway, what I really found interesting, other than what you guys went through with the P.A.U.L campaign, and getting sabotaged by Jesse Benton and whoever else sent out emails or text messages, I found it interesting what they sent out in their little volunteer manual with the picture of Adam Kokesh in the back, and of course they found the worst video still ever imaginable, which they do that on purpose.
It didn't stop there either. I haven't shared this, and I shared it with you a little bit ago. I had someone contact me after reading my open letter and give me some information and some documents that nobody's seen. I don't think anyone has seen so far, about how the volunteers that went down to stoop for Ron Paul in Iowa were treated. I mean, if you haven't seen a Nazi manual of what you can say and do and how you dress and everything else, this is the epitome of just censorship and just it disgusted me. I mean, it's one thing to suggest how things should go. It's another thing to tell people what they must do and say, if you don't do this, you're out of here. Goodbye. I know I sent you the link. If you want to share it, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it up into the chat room. In fact, I'm trying to bring Danny back right up now. I wonder if he's seen this thing.
No, I don't think so.
As soon as we get him back on, I will... live radio, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens. Danny, you back live?
I'm back.
Alrighty then. Tracy was just telling me about, and she told me this off air, I found out maybe 5 minutes before I went on. She found this Youth for Ron Paul thing that pretty much it was like this little pamphlet of do's and don'ts and how you can dress and how you were supposed to act, and you had to wear attire, certain attire out and all this other crap. Almost like what you were talking about with the khakis and the blue shirt and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Denny, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
and if Ron Paul knew that was going on, I don't even know what Ron Paul knows anymore. For God's sake.
Come on, Tracy. Ron Paul knows.
See, I agree. I agree.
I know.
Come on.
I got to agree with Danny.
Collectivism. It's judging people based on how they look. It's worse than that. It's pandering to racists and people who are prejudiced against people because they have long hair. I heard, I'm not going to say who it was because it's someone who's allegedly part of the Liberty Movement. I heard her tell and it's somebody who works with Campaign for Liberty. I heard her tell a blogger, oh, you would be great working for the Ron Paul campaign, but you'd have to cut your hair. A blogger. Who's even going to see that he has long hair? Are you kidding me? So, that's ridiculous. And that is anti-libertarian. It is anti-liberty.
Yes.
And it's just, if you can't have principle in the small things, like not judging people based on how they look or what they wear, if you can't have principle when it comes to that, how can we trust you to have principle in big things?
It goes even further than how they look and what they wear. It goes towards their behavior, the way they actually act. No drinks are allowed. You can't smoke a cigarette. You're not allowed to sleep in a co-ed dorm. We'll give you $8 for lunch, but if you can't afford the rest, you won't eat. You're responsible for your own travel. If we deem you, If we deem that you are not acceptable, you will be banished and gone. Goodbye. Like, I mean, it's just disgusting. And this was in the beginning of the campaign in Iowa. And I said to the person that sent me this, I said, why did you not say anything about this earlier? I didn't want to cause problems with the official campaign and hurt Ron Paul's chances of winning. But, I mean, I don't know, Popeye, if you can read some of this out loud. I'm not sure if you're ready to do that, but I think people should hear it. It's flabbergasting, in my opinion.
Well, it just goes to show you that, not everything is as it seems. And what I find, what really pisses me off is the stifling of speech by people that go out and champion free speech. It's like...
no posting on Facebook.
It doesn't make any sense. It just, to me, it's like talking out of both sides of your mouth. It's just complete garbage. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, why would you go out and, if you're about freedom, right? If you're about trying to get the grassroots, the everyday blue collar people, okay, which aren't, I guess blue collar people, regular, average, everyday citizens would be considered ragamuffins too in their eyes.
Ragamuffins.
They don't wear the blue shirts and the khakis, right?
I had one of the New York organizers tell somebody he couldn't be in a group shot because he had a tank top on. This kid was a Ron Paul supporter. We were doing a sign wave, and he wasn't a Ron Paul supporter. He just came up to see what it was about, and we talked to him, and he sounded excited about liberty. And then one of the Ron Paul pink guys told him, we took a group picture. You're not allowed to be in a picture because you're wearing a wife beater.
I had the same thing happen to me when I was doing something with the official campaign where I had a scarf on, and it wasn't acceptable. I had to take my scarf off, which, whatever, fine. I took my scarf off. But, the same thing happens, like, all around.
Well, hold up. Why was a scarf unacceptable?
I don't know. It was too foo-foo, I guess. It was a puffy pink scarf, and they said, you can't wear that. You got to take that off. And I was like, all right. Whatever, and I took it off. That's, and I hate to sound like, I don't want to sound so much like I hate, actually I don't care. I do hate what they said. It's nasty, and it's horrible. And, I had somebody go up on a microphone at a debate party and tell me that I had to dress and act the part while wearing socks and sandals and shorts and looking like a scruffy mess. And they're dictating to me how I should actually look. And Danny, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you got to love the ones who they go and they buy a suit in like a Salvation Army, and then they wear that to the Upper West Side to a GOP party, and they think they're fooling the GOP.
And I don't know why anybody wants to make deals with the devil to begin with.
Exactly.
A lot of this, I think a lot of this posturing, this is what really pisses me off. When I looked at this, and Tarpley talked about this, and Tarpley was the first person to actually say this out loud, and he caught a lot of crap for this, but he said, and I don't always agree with everything Webster Tarpley says, but he said, Ron Paul, he's going to screw his own campaign, and it's to set up a legacy for Rand. And what has he done? I mean, he called it, dude.
He did call it, yeah. He absolutely called it.
He's setting up a legacy on a really, 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 really weak deck of cards. Like, if you ever saw a card, castle, where they do the card tower, the deck of cards where they stack them up, this deck already lost 3 cards from the top, 3 cards from the bottom. It's teetering on falling over. There are those who are still hanging on to the last card for dear life with ropes and anchors and chains, but it's going to fall down really quick.
Well, see, the thing is that the Ron Paul Inc. thinks the ragamuffins are the minority, and I think they're wrong about that. If the ragamuffins were the minority, Ron Paul wouldn't be going on Alex Jones. Ron Paul goes on Alex Jones' show because he knows that's where his bread is buttered. That's where the majority of his support comes from, is that audience. So, or at least a huge chunk of it that he can't ignore. So they can pretend that the ragamuffins are a minority. Austin Peterson and Jesse Benton and Ron Paul Inc., they can all pretend that. But they're lying to themselves because they don't want to think they're in the minority. And I really believe that they are in the minority. And there are more
Don't forget
ragamuffins
Jack
supporting
Hunter,
Ron Paul than anybody else. Yeah, with Jack
Don't
Hunter
forget
too.
Jack Hunter.
I did get to
completely
troll
agree.
Jack Hunter at the Sun Dome. That was fun.
Do you have any videos of any of this, Danny?
No, I don't have videos. There's photos on my Facebook of me. I took a photo with Jack Hunter wearing the ragamuffin shirt.
Oh, I saw that. That was great.
He didn't realize what I was wearing, but
well, most of them don't even pay attention. See, but that's right there. That goes to show you the disconnect. They're not even paying. I know people could say, well, they probably take hundreds and hundreds of pictures. How long does it take for 2 seconds to pay attention to what's in front of you? Again, if they don't, they're so short-sighted because the only thing that they care about is putting on this picture, painting this perfect picture for people, and they don't want. I'm covered in tattoos, dude. People, I know all about not people not wanting me in photos. I mean, I have tattoos all over my hands, my fingers.
That was another thing. Popeye, in the manual. Cover your tattoos. Don't show any
I want to see this
piercing.
manual. We need to publish this manual.
Can you read some of that stuff out? Like, can you just read a little bit of it? Like, I think it would be beneficial to the listeners to hear what I'm talking about. I mean, it's literally a list of things. You might as well be joining the military, or these people dedicated their time to this cause and their money, and they're being told how they can dress. They have to hide their body art, which is a statement of how they are. When I get a tattoo, I know it's because I want to brand myself with something that I feel is important, and they're being told to hide those things. I don't think that Middle America really gives a shit what kind of tattoo you have on your arm, but obviously the Ron Paul campaign does.
You know what? Here's the good news. Ron Paul Inc. is over. It's done. And now we can get to the real business. Now the distraction of the Ron Paul campaign is over, and the people that were focused and committed and obsessed even with Ron Paul can now move on and start doing some real work for liberty, hopefully, and something distracted by left versus right politics. Because you know what, even though Ron Paul did do a lot and change the message, and we're talking about the Fed in the mainstream now, and there's a lot of things that Ron Paul did that are great, he's still attracting attention to the getting people plugged into the Republican Party and putting their hope in politics for freedom. And we know, and ragamuffins know, that's not where freedom comes from. So, that's the good news, is that now it's over, and now people have to get down to the business of real liberty.
Yeah, well, it's not over, Danny, because now he's going on Leno, and there are a million people saying he's going to announce a third-party run. And I'm like, guys,
they're
stop
high.
it.
It's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Stop grasping at your straws.
If he does, by the way, if that did happen, I would say that would be a totally controlled thing then, and that would be to try to undermine any chance that Gary Johnson might have. Not that I actually have faith in the voting system anyway. I don't want to give anybody misconceptions. It's all rigged. I think it's all crap anyway. But I think that if he came out, and this is just my personal opinion on the matter, but if he came out and ran all of a sudden for third party, I would have to say it would be a controlled thing, because he hasn't had that drive to get to the position of president this whole campaign. So to suddenly want to do it because now I can run third party, the only thing that would do would screw Gary Johnson. And if you noticed, right after this whole thing with Paul Fest and everything else, there was a lot of exodus, even from the GOP itself, where if they couldn't get behind Paul or whatever, and Paul wasn't in it, a lot of people are now looking at Gary Johnson as a viable candidate. So what does that do? Now, if he runs third party, I don't think he will. I think it's all just, people grasping at straws, honestly. But the fact remains that if he does do it, it'll be highly suspect, because he said he wouldn't. And I personally, and I'm going to get called a conspiracy theorist for this, but then it would be a controlled thing to screw Gary Johnson. That's my personal opinion. All right, guys, I'm going to cut us off right there because we got the top of the hour break coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Hour number 2 coming up. We're going to get into some solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye, from federaljack.com. It is August 31st, 2012. And in the first hour, I was hanging out with Danny Panzella and Tracy Diaz, and we were going over all the stuff that's been going on, and they were venting about all the things that they've had thrown at them over a very long period of time. I actually didn't realize it was as long as it was. Danny helped tell me that in the first segment there. And I didn't know that. I honestly didn't realize it was going on for that long. I thought it was only within the past, maybe a couple months or something. So that makes it even worse. So I wanted to let them vent. But there's more to the quote-unquote ragamuffins than just being pissed at the Ron Paul campaign. What they actually bring is solutions, real solutions, not faux solutions, not voting for some politician, waiting for somebody in a cape to come save you, because, again, we keep looking to outward sources. As a country, people keep falling for this. Let's look to outside sources for help. And that's not the answer to the problem. The answer to the problem is to look to ourselves for the answer. And we will. It just comes naturally. You start to do it on a small level with yourself, and it will automatically blossom outward. And once everybody starts to do that, things will change literally like that, overnight. I mean, wars would end tomorrow if the soldiers said, no, we're just not going to fight anymore. And that's the reality of the matter. So, hour number 2, myself and Danny and Tracy are going to be getting into solutions. And I offer solutions all the time, and I'll throw some stuff out there. But I want you, the listeners, to hear what they have to say. I want you guys to get their perspective on things. So, Danny, you had you had some really good what we would call rhetoric, which that's not a bad word if you understand what the trivium is, ladies and gentlemen. I urge you to go learn, educate yourself, become an autodidact. Anyway, Danny has some really good arguments against quote unquote statism, and a lot of people don't understand what a statist is, Danny. So maybe you could take a few minutes and go over exactly what a statist is, and why, if you're really into personal freedom, that being a statist is the antithesis of what true liberty and freedom it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, for the purposes of this conversation, I'm sure we could debate the definition of statism. There are definitely people that would love to debate that, but for the purpose of this conversation, statism basically means that you, if you're a statist, you advocate for the state to solve problems, as opposed to libertarians and anarchists who believe that any challenge or any problem can be solved by the free market. It doesn't have to be solved by empowering the state, quote unquote, which basically is just an entity that has a monopoly on violence. So only the state is permitted to act violently, because the assumption is that statists would assume that the state will only use violence when it is absolutely necessary and, only for good purposes. And we all know that that's a lie, that doesn't actually happen, that the state uses violence all the time against good people. The drug war is one example. Peaceful people are put in jail for smoking a plant. That's just one example. But so statism is basically advocating for an entity to be able to be empowered to use violence to solve problems. And obviously that is immoral. Violence is immoral unless it is in direct self-defense. Or at least that's what I believe. That's the anarchist philosophy. And so we can never, if we're going to take a principled stand on anything, we can never condone using violence to solve problems. So one of the ways that translates practically with government is that government cannot, it owns nothing, it has nothing. It only has money when it takes taxes. So it forcibly takes your taxes, your money, your wages that you earn, at the threat of violence. If you don't pay your taxes, the IRS is going to show up at your house with guns and put you in a cage, or repossess your house, take your possessions from you. So that basically, in a nutshell, is statism. So, there are ways to solve problems. The community can solve problems without using the state to enforce morality or anything. I mean, I come from a Christian background. So one of the problems that I run into, or the challenges rather, with talking to people about anarchy is that people want their moral code to be enforced, backed up with violence. So abortion is one of the major things that the Christian community has a problem with, and they feel like it needs to be illegal, and the government needs to back that up and have a law against murdering an unborn child. I am pro-life. I believe that a baby is, a conception is when life begins. But I am anti-prohibition. I don't believe that we need a law or a violent government to enforce a law against abortion, because I believe that's a problem that could be solved by the community. If you educate young mothers or potential mothers and fathers about the sanctity of life and how precious life is, and that even if it's an inconvenient child, and I'm not trying to be preachy here, but the point is that the community can solve the problem through education and outreach rather than violence. And we don't need laws to be moral people. We are moral people by doing what Gandhi said, being the change we want to see in the world, or what Jesus said, loving others as you love yourself. If you do those things, we don't need laws. We don't need a state. So I feel like I know that is truth, that we can find a solution within our community, and that's really to any problem. You could throw any problem at me, and I can solve it without using a state.
Of course, because you would apply some simple logic, and you would actually be applying that logic yourself. See, that's the key right there, is you would be looking to yourself for the solution. Let me think. How should I handle this? Well, I know a guy, let's see, the road goes out. Perfect example in Hawaii a couple of years back, and I don't remember exactly when it was. And I have the story posted up on Federal Jack. You can look it up. I don't even remember the title, but in one of the islands.
How will they build the road?
Well, that was it. One of the islands, the roads washed out. There was a storm or something. And the people in that area got together themselves. Like, let's say, Danny had a bulldozer, and, I had a truck, and, Tracy, you had the gravel. Everybody got together, and within a week, it was fixed. The road that they waited forever for the government, that the government was like, oh, we don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. The people themselves took care of it, and it was fixed, done, and it was back in operation. Now, if they had waited on the government,
did it faster, cheaper, and more efficiently than the government would have done it.
Oh, way more efficient. Let me ask you this, okay? When I grew up in Jersey, this is a perfect example, I should say, of a waste of money and statism, and why government is just, you don't need it. People could do a better job themselves. The town I lived in, they needed to repave a section of the town for like 20 years. It was like downtown Beirut, all right? It was crap. They repave it, and 6 months later, they decide to tear it up and put sewer pipe in. And rather than repave it again, they patched over where the holes that they dug. And then again, it looked like downtown Beirut, because you two live up north. You know what happens when they put salt in the roads, and you only need one winter to screw the roads up. And it went right back to crap. And the town was like, oh, what are you going to do? I mean, that's a perfect example of government idiocy. What say you?
Well, that's not actually, I don't believe that's government idiocy. That's actually a Keynesian economic philosophy. It's the broken window theory. So if you break a window, now the economy has to spring into action to fix that window. But that's actually a fallacy, because you're not creating new value in the economy. You're just redistributing. It's a redistribution. It's not actually creating new value. Like if I create a product and then sell that product on the market, that creates value. When you take from one person in the form of taxation, to then give it to another person, the contractor who is going to fix the roads, they just think if they have constant activity that's adding value into the economy, but it's not. All the activity does is keep union workers working so that they continue to donate and pay off city, to pay off the bureaucrats to continue to get those contracts. It's just part of the corrupt system of embezzlement. Government is just a giant embezzlement scheme. It is a way for corporations to embezzle taxpayer money through crony contracts and subsidies.
one of the things I have to say is we're going to go back to biblical times. Some of the people that are listening may be devout Christians. One of the most famous sayings is, you steal from Peter to pay Paul. I think that just exemplifies it.
Well, that's what we're doing.
I'm not sure that's a biblical statement.
Isn't it? You steal from Peter to pay Paul. It's talking about, like, you know, no? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I just don't think that's actually from the Bible.
You think they pulled Peter and Paul out of nowhere?
I think so.
No.
Peter, Paul, Mary.
You two crack me up. You should do a morning show together.
We should do a morning show
Really, you guys should do a morning drive show. Give the New Yorkers something to tune into. For real.
Me and Danny in the morning talking to one another, like if I hadn't had my coffee and maybe have a few drinks too many the night before, and we're both hungover, like, Danny, shut the F up. Just shut up, Danny, please.
That'd be awesome.
I think you guys would make a good radio duo. I think you would.
I'm down.
You guys, it could be solution-oriented. You guys could, you know, Danny could do his status stuff, which, by the way, or anti-status stuff, I should say. And by the way, I agree that, you know, when you say that, you know, it's a waste of, you know, like waiting for the government to help you and save you. It's a complete waste of time because they're not going to. You know, right now, government gets anthropomorphized, and in case people don't know what that means, it means it's given man-like qualities. Government is nothing. It's a fictional entity. It doesn't really exist. The term actually means to control the mind. It's Latin.
Which brings, you're absolutely right, and that brings me to where I have been reading for many, many months, but just holding out hope that I wouldn't need to go there. But I think, and I feel for this man, Michael Bolden and the 10th Amendment Center, the Tenthers. I'm a truther, I'm a Tenther. I just feel like nullification is one of the ways that we can affect good change and do it without being involved in party. I mean, like you had said earlier, if we were in Afghanistan and all of the soldiers just decided all of a sudden we're not going to fight, would there be a war? No, there wouldn't be a war. If everybody decided they're not going to pay taxes, would there be taxes? I mean, everyone as a collective in the United States of America just stood up and said, I'm not paying these. Sorry.
Exactly. I mean, what would happen if everybody stopped playing into the system? What would happen if everybody said, no, we're not going to? I mean, can you imagine if when the government said, well, you know what, go out and kick this old lady out of her house, which sheriffs have actually said, no, we're not going to do this. This old woman's, you know, on oxygen. She's, you know, like 90-something years old. We're not going to remove her. And the bank gets pissed because the sheriff's department won't go evict her from the house. You know, and
so here, I have a solution, a way that we can get there a lot faster. Let's just stop using Federal Reserve notes.
Hold on, Danny. You're breaking up a little bit. Fix your headset. There you go.
If we stop using Federal Reserve notes, if we stop using the Fed's money, that system will collapse, including the government. We don't have to worry about not paying taxes if we stop using Federal Reserve notes, because you have to pay unto Caesar. You render unto Caesar is what belongs to Caesar. Well, what belongs to Caesar is the Federal Reserve notes. If you don't use it, you don't owe taxes.
Well
the more
said.
people that stop using the Federal Reserve note, the quicker that system will collapse, and it'll take the government with it.
You can trade in bamboo or plastic or grass. It doesn't matter as long as you trade in something. Like, I know that silver, gold, or precious metals are always a good commodity for, you know, some sort of monetary
Be careful trading in grass because the DEA will come after you.
I know. You're absolutely right, Danny. But, like, you could trade in whatever and barter in whatever you wanted to barter and trade in, and you could be successful and not depend on the fiat paper to actually fund what you're doing.
Well, how about I challenge everybody to step up to, you know, even further. If we evolved as humanity, we wouldn't require to be going out there and you know, charging each other for stuff. You wouldn't need money to begin with because we would naturally be taking care of each other. You know what I'm saying? There would be no, you know, if you saw a child starving with flies on him like there are in the world, you wouldn't just look the other way. You would go pick the kid up, and you would clean him up, you get the flies off, and you give him some food. In fact, and I know this sounds utopian, socialist. It's not socialist. If everybody just evolved and realized that we shouldn't have to be prompted to take care of one another, we should just do it naturally because it's the right thing to do. this world would change in an instant, like that.
When I'm driving down the street and I see someone pulled over and they're got their hands on their head and they don't know what to do, or even if there's like a small accident and someone's like standing out there distressed, I am the first person to pull over and help. I mean, and I think every single one of us would be that way as well if they didn't have to be fearful of anything else. I think that everyone would volunteer to help other people. I think that we would have a very fruitful society. I feel that, when you see an injustice or a wrong or someone in a bad place, people would step up to fill in that gap and make it right. And, I mean, we do it within our movement every day. Brendan Raub is a great example. That boy is out of prison right now because we all stepped up and got our voices heard. We can do these things without government. And people,
I want to back up exactly what you were saying, because I want to repeat it, actually, because people really need to realize if no one had spoken up for Brandon, if the community, the Liberty community, had remained silent, he literally would still be sitting in a jail cell until they figured out what to charge him for. It was the public outcry, the fact that they couldn't do it in secret and in quiet and just get it done and no one rebelled. It was the resistance that got him released. That is absolutely 100% fact. That's just not a feel-good thing to say after the fact. Oh, we did it, we got him released. No, we really did. That's the truth.
I have to go on record right now, like as saying that I got that post through an email early the morning that he was arrested. I got his mother's phone number. I connected with her. I called her up, and I spoke with her for about 45 minutes. And then I spoke with Josh Tolley, one of my really good friends, and I said, you have to have this woman on. And Josh Tolley had her on, and I spoke with Adam, and I spoke with Nathan, and Tina spoke with you, Danny, and everyone got together as a community and spread this story far and wide. And the best part of the whole thing about Brendan Raub was that she refused, his mother and his family refused to do interviews with the mainstream media. They didn't want nor need the help of the mainstream media. Independent media, alternative media did the job for them. Nathan and all of them standing outside the prison did the job for them. People getting their boots on the ground. And this is what can happen. We have each other's backs. As much as we infight and argue, we all care about one another very, very much. And we're not going to let an injustice go without some proper punishment and our will being done. And I think that he is a testament to that.
Oh, you don't need, again, I'll beat this point home. I've said you don't need to look to some Superman, Superwoman, whatever, because there is nobody that's going to come save us. Okay, and that's why this problem has gotten to the point where it is, because people still, at a basic level, fall for this, savior thing. How many people really believed that wholeheartedly? And I supported the Ron Paul campaign back earlier. I never liked Rand, but I supported the ideas. But I always said, don't buy into the cult of personality, because eventually you're going to be let down and you're going to be disenfranchised and not want to get involved. Oh, and it's hopeless, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times that's what the powers that shouldn't be want. People need to...
Danny was calling us Paul Bots like 6 months ago. So, I mean... if anyone was up on what you're saying, like, honestly.
Oh, no, I know. I used to see Danny's posts on Facebook, and I would agree with him, and then I would watch the vitriol as people attacked him, supporting someone that, at the end of the day, he's not going to save you. No one, like I said earlier, if he became the president, right, it's not like he's going to land on the White House lawn in January and things are suddenly just going to, change. We would still have to be the driving force that physically did the change. So why not just do it ourselves anyway and not look to that cult of personality and just get it done? I mean, everybody says, I could do a better job than the government, so then do it. Do it. Instead of sitting on your ass and saying how much you could do a better job than the government, go out and prove it, get out and do something. Get out and get physically involved. In fact, by the way, Danny brought up a good point when I said that Ron Paul campaign should give the money back. He told me, and I didn't, I don't know any of this. Danny explained to me that they wouldn't be able to give it back. It would have to go to a political thing. So that's fine. You know what?
They can give it back to individual donors. You could call and request your donation back. They would not be able to donate the money directly to veterans who needed help. They would have to donate it to another political action committee, another PAC, which then could maybe lobby on behalf of veterans. But, what's that? It's just more statism. So really the best case scenario is just call and get your donations back.
Yeah, and then let's get together, and if you're, you can get that donation back. I know everybody could use money, but look at it this way. It was money you didn't really have to begin with, right, because you had given it away already. So if you call and get your money back from the campaign, I urge everybody, call in, get your money back, and let's put something together to help feed and clothe a lot of these homeless veterans that are on the street. So let's put that money to good use. Okay, I know everybody could use a few extra bucks, but you know what? Let's take care of, let's show these statists, let's show everybody, let's show the world, okay? Let's show them how it's done. Lead by example. Be the change, okay? Don't look for it. Be the change. All right, I'm going to cut us off because we got a break coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Final segment coming up. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's anything you take out of this whole conversation tonight, anything you take out of this, again, it's a simple fact that you shouldn't look to outside sources for solutions to anything, whether it's a small thing in your life or looking to the government to handle a bigger problem. You can have structure. A lot of people mistake being anti-statist, as being, a complete, you just want chaos and fire and complete anarchy. No, you have to have structure to make things operate properly, but you don't need bureaucratic levels and levels and levels of bureaucratic crap, right?
You don't need violence.
Exactly. You don't need force.
That's the difference.
You should be able to do things without too much force. You know what I'm saying, Danny?
Absolutely. Yep.
Everything should be peaceful. There is no need for any force in our movement at all. And, I did a YouTube video last night, and I was like, this is a call to arms. And then I got scared thinking people are going to think that I'm calling for a violent revolution. We can affect change peacefully.
Well, yeah, you don't. Well, I mean, see, that's what the government would have people believe, that if you try to tell people to do something and change or do something different, that you're doing a violent call to arms. But that's not the case. The reality of the situation is, if you go and do something stupid, like try to do something violent, that's what they want you to do, and that just gives them the excuse to clamp down. So you have to think outside the box. You have to actually evolve out of that base consciousness and think above that and make them irrelevant. That's the end game. If we can make them irrelevant, then it doesn't matter. They can jump up and down with their little suits on and, looking like a bunch of morons. If they were made irrelevant and nobody followed what they had to say, it would be over in a heartbeat.
You just actually led me. I know that we're coming up on the end of the show, but
no, we got time. We got like 25 minutes. Go on.
Oh, cool. I saw a video today, and I had seen this guy earlier, but I hadn't paid much attention, smack me because it was, he said, let's end the revolution and start the evolution. And he pretty much said the exact same thing as you just said. If you embrace the theory of freedom and you can walk away and completely ignore what the establishment, what the powers that be are trying to do, and if everyone did that as a collective and walked away and just said, whatever, this is my world, and this is a free world, and everyone walked away and did that, it would be an amazing, amazing world to live in. And I feel like there's a shift of consciousness going on here. I mean, that's what this all is, really, is a shift of consciousness where you think, you think outside the box. You stop thinking about what you're ingrained upon. You stop thinking about the walls that are put in front of you and around you. And you think outside of those walls about yourself and personal freedom and personal liberty. If every single person in this world thought about those things, thought about, the non-aggression principle, thought about the things that make our own personal freedoms important. I don't know if the Mayans had 2012 right, but I think the shift of consciousness is coming because we have a lot of people in this revolution who don't know where to go. And nobody wants to be a leader, in quotes, because there should be no leader in this movement.
No, people should be led by example. Exactly.
Exactly.
Because you see, the problem is, herein lies the problem. Like, say for instance, we'll use Danny as an example, right? Say we said, look to Danny to be the new leader, right? Then everybody's going to go to you, Danny. Oh, Danny, will you come save us, please? Will you come answer our problems? You're the, Danny Panzella 2012. You know what I mean? It wouldn't.
Yeah. I will save them. I will save any of your listeners. All you have to do is PayPal me a donation to Danny at TruthSquad.tv, and I will save you.
Danny, you're an ass. Sorry.
Do they get a free Danny Panzella 2012 T-shirt with that?
Yes, I will send you a ragamuffin T-shirt.
Hey,
that's not a bad idea.
Actually, you know what? That reminds me. I had an idea off air, and I wanted to bring it up. If there's any graphic designers out there that want to get involved and help out, I think the Ragamuffins should go and start their own TV. TV. Listen to me. You guys could do little videos, like South Park, like the kind of animation you see on TV with South Park. Do something like that with the Ragamuffins, and then kind of turn it into T-shirts and who knows, some bumper stickers or something, and push it. Let people know that they're not.
Go for it.
There's more than they're not by themselves. I think that's a really big thing because there's going to be a lot of people that are disenfranchised right now, and they're going to be looking for a place to go, and they need to know that. In reality, there is other people like them, and if they sit and listen to these other people talk, they will realize that the answer lies within themselves. And then we can move on with this evolution.
Yes. Danny, you were in the Liberty Roundtable at P.A.U.L Festival. I was a little bit disappointed with it, honestly, because I felt like it was a lot of amazing people around that table sharing great ideas, but there were no solutions offered. Do you agree?
No, I disagree. I offered many solutions. I offered the most important solution. Look, liberty it's a spiritual state. That's what liberty is.
Yeah.
And what we need to be doing is, whether you want to describe it as centering your chi, centering your liberty chi. We need to be, I like that, centering your liberty chi. We need to be being the change. We need to be doing it in our own lives and chasing philosophy, following philosophy. Philosophy needs to be our leader. And if we're constantly doing that, if we're constantly on a search for truth, and liberty is truth, so if we're constantly doing that, all the solutions will be obvious to us as we walk the path of liberty. I really believe that it's not pie in the sky kind of, flaky, like hippie talk. I literally believe that this is true. If you're following the philosophy of liberty, your path will be lit as you continue to walk in that. And the solutions will just become apparent, We don't need organizations to feed homeless vets. We need to adopt a homeless vet. Find a homeless vet, adopt him, and whatever you can do to help that person. Does he need help putting together a resume so he can get a job? Does he need a few $100s to help him buy groceries and just pay his electric bill this month? Whatever just reach out to a person on your own. You don't need to donate to an organization who then takes salaries and pays for advertising and skims off the top before then they donate. We need to get in the mindset where we're doing things ourselves and taking action ourselves, because every time we defer action to somebody else, we're training ourselves to not take action, to just say, well, I'll just make a donation. And that's not to say that making a donation isn't powerful, because some people have the resources that they can donate, and maybe they don't have the time. There should be people in the liberty movement that are focused on creating capital, that then capital can be used to further the liberty movement. So there there's a value in that as well, and that's part of, taking action, because we can't all be Adam Kokesh or, Gary Franchi creating media. Some of us have to be doing other things and be supporting those people and spreading the message. I mean, that's what we talked about in the roundtable. The
roundtable, yeah. I have to say though, like Tom Woods came out with his video about how, the libertarian handout type deal, where you don't think that people should be paid for what they actually contribute to this movement, but the time and energy and.
Tom doesn't think that?
No, Tom Woods came out with the video saying, pretty much, curse everyone who thinks that people make money off of this movement in some way, shape, or form are bad people. I don't think that's necessarily true, and Tom Woods has donated to many causes and done many things for liberty, and he still makes money off of his speaking appearances and his book sales and.
Well, you wouldn't even need to make the money. You wouldn't even need to make the money or even generate it if everybody just actually donated their time, because then most of the time the money is needed to get things or get people to do something. Like Danny said it best when he was talking about the homeless vets, and I want to hammer this point. Because instead of going out and trying to, create an organization with bureaucratic structure, like the Red Cross or whatever, just go out and if you see a homeless vet, adopt him, buy him some food, see what you can do, sit down and talk to him, say to him, if you're a vet yourself, talk to, help these guys. Don't look at them and go, oh, they're scumbags or whatever. I mean, come on. Which not many vets would, but you
see, even in my neighborhood, you see the guys at the American Legion and the pins sitting outside with one leg, and people just walk by and look at them with scorn. And I feel these people deserve our help.
Well, even a lot of people. This is what really pisses me off. I get this a lot in the quote unquote freedom movement. Well, they should have known better. They're killing innocent people, and I'm like, whoa. A lot of these kids joined up because they were brainwashed, okay? Just like you used to be, and just like I used to be. So everybody needs to stop acting like they're holier than thou and casting judgment on people. That's what's keeping us separated. If we keep this crap up, we're never going to get anywhere, and these people that are in control are going to stay in control. And because they know that we can't even get along at a base level. It's like we're a bunch of kids arguing in a friggin' sandbox. How about we all get together? How about that?
I have to say, and this is a little bit of a negative, but my 21-year-old cousin went into the Army, and he's about to go into Afghanistan in September. But that war is over, remember, guys? He's about to go in there and fight, and he's so excited. He's like, yeah, this is what I trained for. This is why I'm going. And I sent him a private message, and I said, why are you excited? Why? What is good about what you're doing? Really? What is good about it? How is going over there, do you understand what you're getting yourself into? These kids don't know what they're doing. They don't understand it. They think they're playing a video game.
Exactly. Well, that's the problem. There's this disconnect because they've been desensitized with horror movies and stuff. First of all, our bloodlust is the reason why people are so blasé about killing and stuff now is because over the past 20 years, and you can see it, if you go back, especially if you're old enough like me and you look back into this, I know there were horror movies out in the 70s, but if you look at from the mid 70s to now and you look at what's out in the theaters and what's on TV, they would never have put a movie like Saw out 20, 25 years ago. When The Exorcist, the first movie, when the original Exorcist came out, people freaked out so bad they were passing out in the theaters. I mean, throwing up, people having seizures and stuff. Now, this stuff is commonplace. You don't really see too many. I mean, it happens, but you don't see too many instances of it anymore because people are being desensitized. And then they play video games like Call of Duty, and then they get sent overseas. They see their friend get killed. The only thing
I can say is, honestly, I'm not meaning to interrupt you, but what you're saying just lends right into what I'm about to say. He was ranked the #1 marksman out of his class of 50. I mean, the kid shot things like no one else. Perfect every time. He learned that through Call of Duty. He had never shot a gun before in his life, but he was sitting there playing video games and learned how to shoot that well.
And that's what that stuff is for.
Exactly. And it just lends itself right into what you were saying, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. Go right ahead. You interrupted with a good point. I don't care. I mean, that you are 100% correct. I remember you actually telling me that off air the other day, that he had learned how to shoot from Call of Duty. And that just goes, I mean, that's proof positive right there that, yes, they are programming kids and desensitizing them so that they end up joining the military. And, I have nephews, and I've told my father, I said, someone's got to sit down with those boys and tell them not to join the military. And my dad was a vet, and I'm a vet, and he said, well, they would be defending their country. And he's somewhat awake. But he didn't even, I said to him, Dad, you realize Leon Panetta openly admits that they don't even have to go to the Congress anymore. They're just going to go to the UN for the military. I said, why would you want your grandkids to go fight for the United Nations? And he was like, well, I wouldn't. I said, well, then don't let them join the military because it's not what it used to be.
The whole thing that sucks is that they all say still that they're fighting for our freedom, which is bullshit. They're not fighting for our freedom. I'm sorry to anyone who's listening that thinks this is offensive, but they're not fighting for our freedom.
Well,
we have no freedom left as it is.
That's why
and they're over there.
You want to know why so many of them are committing suicide? I'll tell you why so many of them are committing suicide. And this is how you can tell, because 50% of the suicides are people that have never even been deployed. They realize people are waking up en masse. And a lot of people in the military are waking up and realizing that they are part of something that they were lied to. I mean, there is no better way to describe it. They were lied to, pulled in, brainwashed, whatever you want to call it. Most people, some people join because they want to kill people. I'll be honest. I know people that join because they just wanted to shoot people. That's whatever. Some people are psychopaths. But the majority of people join because they think what they're doing in their heart is right. They think they're helping people and they're being manipulated. Okay? And then when they come back, they come back, they realize what's going on. And these young kids are killing themselves in huge masses, and it's disgusting. And for what? So that these older guys, whoever, 50, 60, 70-year-old guys, can just rake in the money and keep raining.
And it totally doesn't end there, because there are people that are waking up inside the military and are being killed because they have woken up. And I have an example of that right on Long Island here in Oceanside. A kid was murdered by military. And I'll send you the link to that because I don't have all the details off the top of my head, but it's sickening. And this poor father is out there trying to avenge his son's death overseas. I hope to God that if it comes down to something horrible in this country, that the people that, the military that swore an oath to the Constitution will put down their arms and not fight against us. That's the one thing I worry about more than anything. I wonder how many people in the military, how many soldiers, how many police officers would actually just not do as they are told and would join with the people that are for liberty and freedom. I don't know what your take is on that, but...
Well, as I said before, if everybody just said no... if the soldiers didn't participate, right? If they said, I'm not gonna hop in and kill people, if the cops said the same thing, people need to, the only way we're gonna get out of this, the only way we're gonna get past this without having because the powers that be are trying to push it to an armed conflict. Okay, they want that because that's what they're prepared for. That's what they have, all this police state, everything. That's what they're preparing for. That's why they're pushing for that.
All the bullets being bought by the Social Security Administration, all that stuff?
Because that's the only option they have is that option. That's their only option is force and, pounding their chest and being the bully. Okay, that's the only option they have. They can't come to the table with anything else because they're going to become irrelevant, and they realize that. So they have to be the bully. They have to come with that force, and that's why they're trying to push people by manipulating things with laws or actions and things they do, whatever, they're trying to foment that violence. They're trying to do that. The only way we're going to be able to get out of this is if people evolve. We need an evolution of the mind, of the spirit. Like Danny said it before, this is a spiritual war. And if you do not get your spirit in line, and I'm not talking about you don't have to go to church or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. You have to look deeper in yourself, and you really have to come to grips with a few things and accept things. One of the biggest steps is acceptance. You're just admitting that there's a problem in itself is a huge step. And that first step is one of the biggest problems that I see most people, it's like a huge road bump or roadblock, I should say. People just can't get past it.
It's such an obstacle for people to actually think that way because you really have to look deep within yourself. And I feel like every single person that may be listening to this show right now feels it deep within themselves that there's a consciousness shift going on right now. And people are going to be awakened to more of a spiritual sort of way of being. And it's pure and it's love and it's peace. And, we can, if everybody at once awakens to that sort of a philosophy and looks deep within themselves, I feel like we can really make a difference. And there are so many of us of us out there. And if everyone just sat down for 20 minutes and meditated on their couch, they'd all be there.
Well, people need to get back in touch with their spirituality. Danny, what say you?
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to, I wanted to shut up for a little while, let you guys, because I felt like I was blabbing a little too much. But yeah,
no, you guys, I wanted to give you guys as much time actually as possible because that's what it's all about. My listeners get to hear me blab all the time. They don't get to hear you guys blab. And, we only got a few minutes left, so I figured I'd let you get your last say. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the spiritual warfare thing.
Yeah, well, I think that Tracy's absolutely right. People need to be meditating on a daily basis, not only on the philosophies of liberty and what liberty really means, but how they can practically apply those principles in their everyday life. We need to be examining every action that we take. Is this action in line with the non-aggression principle? Is this action in line with, does this action that I'm going to take violate someone's property rights? Or does it, you know what I'm saying? We have to be examining all of our actions and making
natural
sure that
law, it's called. Natural law.
I think everyone should go back and listen for look up Gandhi, as stupid as it sounds, and just look up what he actually taught and preached and listen to it. And that's what we're up against. He was peaceful. Even if he was being attacked, it was all peace.
Martin Luther King Jr. as well, same thing.
Exactly.
Do not fight. Do not go at them with force and anger and aggression, because that'll just that won't turn out good, and that's not going to help. Guys, we're out of time. Tracy, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You came on last minute. It was awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Danny, thank you as well, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for all you do, dude.
Oh, no problem. Thanks. It's always a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. Remember, no fear, only love. I'm out of here.